Hello everyone, and welcome to RadioCSIRT English Edition, your daily appointment with cybersecurity news. I'm Marc Frederic Gomez, your French cybersecurity voice for today's threat landscape. I hope you're doing well. We are on Tuesday, January 6th, 2026, episode 65. In this episode's agenda, we begin with a critical vulnerability in N8N, the workflow automation platform. CVE 2025-6 8668 allows an authenticated user to escape the Python sandbox and execute arbitrary system commands with a CVSS score of 9.9. Next, ASUS patches a DLL loading flaw in AsusSoftwareManagerAgent. CVE 2025-12793 allows a local attacker to execute arbitrary code by manipulating DLL search paths. Third topic, Anna's Archive, the site that uploaded 300 terabytes of Spotify data, loses its primary domain name. The registry placed Anna'sArchive.org under serverHold status, suggesting legal or judicial constraint. Finally, CertFR publishes an advisory on a vulnerability in MariaDB. CVE 2025-13699 affects multiple version branches, but the vendor has not specified the exact nature of the security issue. According to an analysis published by security researcher RadioCSIRT, the N8N automation platform presents a critical vulnerability, allowing an authenticated user to escape the Python sandbox and execute arbitrary system commands. CVE 2025-6 8668 receives a CVSS score of 9.9. The issue lies in N8N's Python code node, which uses Pyodide, a WebAssembly runtime, to execute scripts. The architecture was meant to isolate user code from the host system. But this isolation fails due to Pyodide's interoperability with JavaScript. Since Pyodide runs in the same process as the main application, untrusted Python code directly accesses the privileged node.jess runtime. Exploitation requires no memory corruption. The attacker simply imports the JavaScript bridge from Python to access node.js APIs and invoke system commands. According to Smart, this is a quote, "a collapse of the trust boundary between execution layers," end quote. The consequences are severe. A single compromised account with workflow permissions is sufficient to take full control of the server. Versions 1.0.0 to 2.0.0 of N8N are affected. Version 2.0.0 fixes the flaw by removing in-process Pyodide execution. Pending an update, disabling Python execution via the N8N_Python_enabled equals false flag neutralizes the threat. An uncontrolled DLL loading vulnerability affects AsusSoftwareManagerAgent. It is referenced as CVE-2025-12793. The vulnerability has a CVSS 4.0 score of 8.5. According to information published on cvefeed.io on January 6, 2025, a local attacker can influence the application to load a DLL from a location they control. This can potentially allow arbitrary code execution. The flaw exploits an untrusted search path for DLL loading. It is classified as CWE-426, untrusted search path. Exploitation does not require remote access, but it does require local access to the target system. The attack vector corresponds to pattern CAPEC-38. This pattern describes manipulation of configuration file search paths. ASUS has published a patch in its security advisory. It is listed under the security update for my ASUS section. The solution consists of updating AsusSoftwareManagerAgent to the latest version and verifying the integrity of loaded DLLs. Complete details are available on the ASUS security portal at asus.com/security-advisory. According to Ars Technica, Anna's Archive's primary domain name, annas-archive.org, became inaccessible on January 5, 2026. The registry placed the domain under serverHold status. This action triggered its deactivation in the domain name system. The suspension occurred 2 weeks after Anna's archive extracted and uploaded 300 terabytes of data from Spotify. The site's administrators refute any causal link. They attribute the loss to the usual disruptions affecting this type of service. Spotify confirmed it has strengthened its security measures. The company did not comment on any potential action related to the domain. The serverHold status can only be applied by the registry operator. For the .org extension, this operator is the Public Interest Registry. The action cannot be taken by the registrar. Tucows, the registrar used by Anna's archive, stated it was not informed of this action. This confirms that the initiative originated from a higher level of Internet infrastructure. Historically, the Public Interest Registry refuses voluntary suspensions without a court order. This suggests the probable existence of a legal constraint. An alternative explanation involves judicial proceedings in the United States. The OCLC organization, which manages the global WorldCat catalog, filed a lawsuit against Anna's archive. The lawsuit concerns the extraction of 2.2 terabytes of data. Last November, OCLC filed a motion seeking a default judgment and a permanent injunction. The objective is to force hosting providers to cease their services. CERT-FR published on January 5, 2026. Advisory CERT-FR-2026-AVI-0004. The advisory concerns a vulnerability affecting MariaDB. It is referenced as CVE-2025-13699. The vendor has not specified the exact nature of the security issue, nor the associated risk level. Affected versions include MariaDB 10.11.x prior to 10.11.15, versions 10.6.x prior to 10.6.24, versions 11.4.x prior to 11.4.9, and versions 11.8.x prior to 11.8.4. According to the MariaDB Security Bulletin published the same day, the vulnerability allows an attacker to cause a security issue. The details of this issue remain undisclosed. CERT-FR recommends referring directly to the vendor's security bulletin. This is required to obtain the appropriate patches. Complete documentation is available on the MariaDB website. Organizations using MariaDB in the affected version should plan an update to the corrected versions 10.11.15, 10.6.24, 11.4.9, or 11.8.4, according to their deployment branch. According to an article published by Forenix on January 5, 2026, the Debian project faces a critical situation. The 3 delegated members of the data protection team have resigned. Jonathan McDowell, Tollef Fogheen, and Matthew Vernon all left the team. They cited a lack of free time and a loss of enthusiasm to continue supporting the project's objectives. The data protection team was created in 2018. Its mission was to handle issues related to the General Data Protection Regulation and European data protection legislation. The team served as a point of contact for external queries concerning data held by Debian. It also advised project members on their data protection obligations. The team notably drafted the project's public privacy policy. On January 2, 2026, Andrea Stiller, Debian project leader, published an urgent call for volunteers on the Debian-Devil-Announce mailing list. The issue had already been raised at DebConf 2025, but no volunteers came forward at that time. In the absence of active team members, the Debian project leader now handles this role on an ad hoc basis for any data protection requests. The delegation of the 3 former members has been officially revoked. And that's it. This edition ends here. I hope it provided you with clear, accurate, and useful information. Until then, we don't think, we patch. If you are a new listener, feel free to subscribe to the RadioCSIRT podcast. RadioCSIRT is available in English, Italian, Spanish, and French. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, Deezer, and Spotify. All open source intelligence links used in this episode are available on RadioCSIRT.com. See you tomorrow for a new episode. Take care. Goodbye.